light,
and trash.
So basically though, my entire idea is what if we shoved this light and this little doodad and then made a robot out of it. Now to actually do that, we obviously need some, glue, because to shove that in there, need some adhesive. So let me grab my hot glue. Should be in this container here. Oh, that's the wrong container. Ignore that, ignore that.
I think this should be the one.
Here we go.
Gotta actually plug it in though, so let's do that for. Get in the stupid. Get for God's sake! I got it. Yay!
Then to actually get the light the way I wanted it to, I had to tape both sides of the LED strip together so it would have just like one of the LEDs poking out the top. I then threaded this LED strip into this, like, I think it's like a dog toilet roll thing, because I wanted it to be like this big lens poking out, and as you can see, it definitely projects the light quite well. Then to actually attach the tube and the LED, I used the super mysterious secret technique that no one else knows called a lot of hot glue.
You see, I needed to add a bottom to the entire robot, because obviously I don't want to have all its wires exposed. And I tried using this piece because I thought it would be perfect, but I ended up not liking it at all. After, well, that, I needed a different bottom, so I found this lid to, I think it was a gum container, whatever flavor, I think bubblegum or something, and I thought that it would be perfect to have the legs coming out of. I then needed to separate the top part of the lid and the bottom part, because I just wanted the bottom part currently, so I had to, rip it apart. No, welcome back everybody. Today we're going to be opening a Shadow Prison pack. Let's see what we pull. Get this thing right open. Stormy straight away that we can see. Gotta do the card trick. I think it's 2, but I might be wrong, and I probably fumbled this. Let's see. Oh, that's a pull. A switch. Stormy, Brock, Magmore. Wait a minute. This isn't that kind of channel. Huh. Whoa. I'm in our channel. I'm building a robot. I'm building a new robot. It's been so long. These Pokemon cards, they're not even real. Look, they're not even real. They're fake. They're fake. Turns out the bottom of the gum lid fit perfectly on the bottom of. Still don't know what this green piece of plastic is, but fit perfectly, which was great. I then need to sort out the wires, so I bundled them up really tight and pushed them all the way into the container, whatever plastic piece, and then glued the switch on the back of the model. I then glued the bottom of the gum lid to seal off the wires and have just a bit of it sticking out the back so it can still plug in. Needed some legs though, so I think, these bullets might do me some well. Probably use these as legs. But to attach these legs, I needed my trusty Dremel. I spent like 5 minutes making this hole and I have to make 2 more.
One eternity later.
After literally forever, I finally got 3 holes. And using those bullets from the revolver, I put some hot glue in and stuck them in to be some beautiful little robot legs. I then pulled out the bit box because I needed some joints on his legs. So I grabbed 3 of these little blue beads to use as some rotation points. I then got them glued on, but he looks awfully familiar. Then to continue the legs, I got the slightly thicker, like, toilet roll stuff and glued a little bit of each one onto each of the legs to kind of, like, point them out, to kind of make, like, tripod-looking legs. I then grabbed these pieces, which were from a SLR camera film reel, actually. Using the big fancy words now. And I attached each one of these onto each of the legs to just add more interest to the legs and make them look more interesting. Then for the last part of the legs, I grabbed these little metal things. Kind of think they're like hair clips, just to finish the legs and make them kind of look like these pointy, like spider-like legs in a way. Then whilst working on this video, where I live got hit with a little bit of a heat wave.
Hot, 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 hot! Hot, 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 hot!
I then grabbed a piece from an old build and attached it onto its back, like a little barrel of something. And I grabbed that piece that we cut off earlier off the top of the head and attached it on. It's like an attachment point to look like it's actually part of the robot. I used my Dremel to drill a hole into it and put in one of these sewing pins to look like some sort of antenna on him. I then wanted to add a little more detail to that barrel thing, so I used my Dremel, drilled the hole, grabbed some glue, attached one of these little, I think they're old earrings, old pieces from earrings. So I glued that on as just a little random knick-knack. It looks kind of cool. I then found this weird white piece, don't have a clue what it's from, glued it onto the robot's like forehead, I guess. Again, adding more detail, because right now he's very bog standard and boring. And on that same white thing, I drilled a hole, and then grabbed another old bead, and put that into the center of that, just to make the white thing look a little more interesting. Just, you know, more detail. I then broke his leg again. Bro, I've snapped these legs like a gajillion different times! I then grabbed the circuit board, which I cut in half, and then I glued it onto the side of the robot. I think it's actually a USB cable circuit board or something like that, because it's got a USB port thing, but who knows. And then I grabbed these cables and put them into his like weird face hole thing, and then glued those down. I then grabbed more of those little earring pieces and glued them onto the forehead as weird little details of some sort. I then grabbed this extra cable piece I had, and I just glued this on, entering two different like random holes in the model. What it would actually do, no clue, but it looks cool, so it's there. You see, there's a difference between how something would actually work and how it looks. I would call this the rule of cool. For example, this dreadnought here. These joints and stuff, would they actually work in real life? No. Not at all. But does it look cool? Yes. So we go by that. I then use my Dremel, again, drilling through the head, just adding another one of those bead things to just add more interest to the head. Then for this robot, I wanted to add some like different stuff attached to him as if he was like a carrying robot or something like that. So I wanted to attach some like fabric rolls or something like that. So the first step was grabbing this piece of fabric, rolling it up, and then gluing it to be in this kind of like cylinder. I then grabbed some scissors and was cutting this in half because I don't need it that long, and made sure to trim the other side as well because I don't want those ridged edges. I then got these like little plastic things and wrapped them around it, completely off camera by the way, well done me. So I mean, it looks like that, but did it completely off camera. Absolute genius, knows what he's doing completely by the way. I then glued it onto the side of the model, and off camera made another one and then glued it right below the other one. I then proceeded to commit a demonic ritual to get old pieces from an old build to use. I then grabbed a piece from this piece that I summoned and glued onto the model because I don't have any of these little rivet pieces right now, so I'm having to reuse. Which I mean, these kind of the entire point of all these builds, to be fair. I then wanted to add more detail to his little eye thing, so I grabbed one of the longer pieces and glued that around as like a little bit of a trim. I then needed to pull out my bits box because under the little trim there was a gap, so I need to find something to fill that in. I thought I found the right piece to fill it in and gave it a little trim so it would fit. When I ended up testing it, it didn't fit or really look that good. Eventually, after testing a couple different pieces, I found a zip that fit well, but I just needed to remove the actual like dangly bit from the part of the zip that I needed. It then took me absolute eons to get that little dangly bit off. But eventually I got it off, and then I proceeded to glue the piece under in the little gap on the like trim of his eye thing. I then grabbed more pieces from the old build I was using and glued them on because again, didn't have any rivets, so I was just using old pieces. I then grabbed some, I think there were caps on broken calculator that I had. So I glued those onto some different places in the model to just add more detail. Then from the front of his eye thing, I decided to add more of these long wires drooping into the inside of his body, just to add more detail. I then saw that I need to add some detail to the light switch on the back, so I used another one of those old pieces and glued it on the back and wrapped it around the light switch. Then after a surprisingly amount of consideration, I decided to glue on this piece of an SLR camera film reel onto the front of his eye just to bulk it up a little more. No, I was pretty happy with him at this stage. So I decided to take a little break, eat some snacks, and think about what I was going to do next. Wait, how do I eat this? Well, after a bit of pondering, taken as much time to try to figure out how to eat, gave me the idea to use this minigun from a Dreadnought. It was an extra piece I had, and I was like, you know what, this robot still needs more details, so I'm gonna freaking attach it, because why not? I then wanted to make the minigun look more actually attached to the rest of the model, so I grabbed some of this, I think it was garden wire, dremeled out a hole in the back and attached it inside whatever this weird thing on his side was. I thought one wire wasn't enough, so I dremeled another hole and attached another wire. Then to make it look even more attached, I glued this chain around the entire minigun, attaching it to both sides around the minigun, just to make it look like the minigun had been chained up against the robot. I then wanted to make that circuit board look a little less jutty-outy, so I grabbed some toothpicks and applied a rim around all the exposed edges, and it made it look a little more incorporated than it was before, so that was quite pleasing. I then want to incorporate the rest of the zipper from earlier. Whoa, that's an unfortunate angle. I wanted to include the part of the zipper from earlier, so I glued it on front as this little knick-knack. I then wanted to add a little platform above the switch because I had plans to add a little rider on top of it. So I dremeled some holes and put some toothpicks in to make the base of that structure. For the structure, I needed popsicle sticks to make a platform. So I grabbed a nice ollie, just had a little snack, just to get to the wooden bit in the middle. Took me a little bit, not too long. I mean, it was pretty good. Decent. Would have liked a different flavor, but hey, orange worked. I, however, needed a second one, but I didn't have time to dilly-dally as much as I did last time. So I'm scoffing this thing down as quickly as possible.
Nom 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 nom.
I then needed to make these popsicle sticks look like wood planks, so I taped them down and went ham at them with my X-Acto blade, just to make them, give those wood indents to make them look realistic for this size. I then cut some of the planks into bits, make him really, really small. And again, using the X-Acto plate on like all the edges, trying to make this wood look rotten or used and warped. I then actually start to glue these planks on. I ended up only actually using 3, so I had some ice lollies for kind of no reason. But that's irrelevant. The planks look really, really good. There also a home point was a little man that I put on that back. But what is that thing, bro? Ugh. Get rid of it! As I said, I want it gone! See, it looks really, really bad. I saw the vision, but it wasn't there. So I now aggressively removed him. And in his place, I glued down a piece of fabric. I don't know, to be some sort of blanket or covering that's just on this robot. I don't know. It's just some random decor. Over this, I put these like yellow wires to make it look like it's actually like latched down onto this part and then glued them down. I then decided a nice big bowl of some bass strings would be a pretty good snack, can't lie. Whip out the chopsticks, break these, and then consume it. Surely nothing could go wrong. Mmm. I then grabbed my utensils and my Dremel, and we were ready to add some new bits to the robot. I decided to Dremel off all the bottoms of the toothpicks because I just wanted the like solid square on them. I just called them toothpicks. That's not what they're called. I then glued these to the top of the legs, just trying to bulk out the legs a little more because I thought they were a little too donnelly and skinny for what would be this hulking moving robot. I then Dremeled out some holes and shoved bass strings in them just to add more detail under the legs to make them look like some sort of tubing or pneumatics or something like that. After 17 minutes and 26 seconds, I'm finally working up the base for the robot because the robot is done. I grabbed this old, I think it's like a coaster that I had used for a base that I never finished the build for. Wink wink, might be doing that in the future. But I grabbed this like half of this like tape stuff, glued down to the base, grabbed some of the random wood to make it look like planks, attached the other half like circuit boards, weird different pieces. Again, my idea for this base was just a scrapyard, so I was just chucking mainly a bunch of the scraps that I had left from other previous parts of this build and just put them all on the base because I was going to incorporate them all together with the thing you'll see in a sec. It's been a while since I've said this, but we're pulling out the forbidden peanut butter. Please do not eat this stuff as good as it looks. Please do not start eating it. Terrible idea. Yeah, so I grabbed the brush and I just went crazy with this on the base, just making everything look like it had been drenched in mud, and it really tied everything together. Now I think it's time for painting. So first things first, I started out with base coating the entire model in a black primer. I then start out with a dry brush, well not a dry brush, a wet brush actually, or heavy brush, it's one of those terms. Start out with like this like deep orange, going for kind of a rust. Then after some long thought, I decided on a like teal, blue, cyany for the main like paint job of the robot, because I thought it would really contrast with the rust and dirt I was planning to put on it later. So yeah, I just covered all the like panels that I thought would be this teal in, well, the color, you know. I then, on the other sections of the model, painted some like dark blue paneling on some of the like top part of the legs, some little other like bolted on pieces around the model, like on the back of the light switch, etc. Then over all the teal parts, I stippled on an even lighter blue just to add some more texture to the entire model. I then pulled out a brown speed paint, or effectively I used it as a brown wash here, and I lathered this thing over the entire model, because obviously I wanted this robot to look dirty, musky, and used. So I layered up this brown wash over everything, and then would wipe away the extra, just leaving it in like the crevices, and just overall making everything look darker and more all incorporated as like one piece. Then throughout the model, I chose a few select different locations on it to add difference, painting them this like yellowy brown color, just to add more contrast, and later I'll put the brown wash over all of this as well to fully incorporate everything. But obviously I just don't want the entire model to just be blue, because that would be really, really boring. After applying a black wash, I then picked out all the different wires with a red paint because I wanted them to stand out, again, adding more contrast, just this deep red, and it ended up looking really clean, I think. I then started to paint the base with this, again, like deep browny orange, and then grabbed a dark brown and started to wet blend that onto the base as well. Then finally, to finish off the model, I thought I was missing something, so I decided to add a little flair by adding flocking all over the model, because I thought, I don't know, he might be some sort of mossy robot. Yeah. And it really did make a difference. I think it ended up bringing the entire model together in the end, because, oh, it looked really, really good. And with the last bits of flocking added, I think it was time to call it wraps.